Welcome, Grammar Pirates. I'm excited to be with you as we continue to learn more about grammar. We've already talked about 4 types of sentences and subjects and predicates. And our knowledge of subjects and predicates will be crucial to our success with clauses. If you are still unsure about subjects and predicates, watch that video again and contact me if you feel you need more practice to be successful. What is step 1? What is step 2? I want you to think about those as we continue on here. A clause is a group of related words. A clause has a subject and a predicate. And here is a phrase you will hear over and over again this year. A clause, not the Santa, has a subject and a predicate. I want you to say it this time with me. A clause, not the Santa, has a subject and a predicate. Now, do you remember what is a subject? Let's follow our Grammar Pirate rules to find the subject. Step 1 is, that's right, underline the verb, which is we're walking in this case. Do you remember what a predicate is? Predicate is what's happening. And step 2, draw the mast. And the mast separates the subject and the predicate. So our subject is Piglet and Tigger. So if you got that, awesome job. Now our work on the previous slide will make finding our predicate really easy. First, what's a simple predicate? Simple means really, really basic, and that is we're walking. The complete predicate, and if we have something that is complete, we have all of it. The what's happening, the entire one, the complete predicate is we're walking in the woods. Why is all of that important? A clause has a subject and a predicate. So everything that we learned is going to be really important to what's coming next. So what is a clause? A clause, not the Santa, has a subject and a predicate. And there is a really key difference between an independent clause and a dependent clause. And if you think about what those two words mean, that's going to actually really help you out here. If something is independent, it can stand on its own. It's a way of saying a complete sentence. So the clause below has a subject and a predicate, which is true, which makes it a clause, and it can stand on its own. So if you went up to someone and said it, the 4 frogs were hopping to the store, it makes sense. It might be kind of a kooky sentence, but that's okay. So it's independent of something else. It doesn't need anything else to work. Now, a dependent clause has a subject and a predicate because a clause, not the Santa, has a subject and a predicate. It has a subject, a predicate, but it also has a depending word at the beginning of the clause. If something is dependent on another, it cannot be on its own. So let's go through our grammar pirate steps here. Step 1, underline the verb. We're late. It's a verb phrase here. Step 2, that's right, draw the mast. If you said this phrase by itself, because we were late for school, people would look at you funny, like, where's the rest? Even though there's a subject and a predicate, there is a dependent word at the beginning, making sure that it doesn't really sound like that's all you have. It needs something else. It makes no sense on its own. It has a subject, it has a predicate, and it has that dependent word. So here's a list of the dependent words. I also gave it to you so you could affix it into your grammar notebook. That way you have all of these. And if you look through them, they kind of make sense. So it's going to be your turn. You might want to write down these codes to help yourself for the next ones. You want to write down if the next phrase or clause is a dependent clause, DC. If it's an independent clause, it has a subject, a predicate, and can stand on its own, it's an IC. You're going to write an R if it's a run-on, meaning it's a bunch of clauses that are just kind of attached without any correct punctuation. And you're going to write F if it's a fragment or a piece of a clause, meaning it might have a subject or it might have a predicate, but it will not have both. Number 1, when Mr. Jones yelled. Number 2, I enjoy the opera. Number 3, unless it comes today. Number 4, although I lost the honey pot. Number 5, they're going on an adventure. Number 6, Mom found it in the drawer. Let's see how you did. When Mr. Jones yelled is a dependent clause because you want to know what happened after Mr. Jones yelled. You have a subject, you have a predicate, and that when dependent word. I enjoy the opera is an independent clause. You can say that on its own and it makes sense. Number 3, unless it comes today is a dependent clause. It has a subject, a predicate, and a dependent word. Although I lost the honey pot, same thing. It has a subject, a predicate, and a dependent word. Hopefully you're saying these with me by now. They're going on an adventure is an independent clause. It has a subject, a predicate, and can be on its own. It can be independent. Number 6, Mom found it in the drawer is an independent clause. All right, now we're going to throw in those curveballs. The last slide just had independent and dependent clauses. We're going to put in those run-ons and those fragments. You're totally ready for this. Number 1, the school was closed on Friday. It was a teacher workshop day. Number 2, while the caterpillar watched. Number 3, walked home from the fair. Number 4, the cow toasted marshmallows on the fire. Number 5, since they were sad. Number 6, the cat read. Right, let's see how you did this time. The first one was a run-on. You could kind of tell because you almost can't even catch your breath to get all of that out without any kind of punctuation, which means you have a couple of masts, you have a couple of verb or verb phrases. Number 2, while the caterpillar watched, dependent clause. It has a subject, a predicate, the dependent word while. Number 3, walked home from the fair is a fragment because you have the complete predicate, but you have no subject. You have no idea who's doing this walking. Number 4, the cow toasted marshmallows on the fire is an independent clause. It has a subject, a predicate, and can stand on its own. It's a kooky sentence, but that's okay. Number 5, since they were sad, dependent clause. It has a subject, a predicate, and a dependent word, since, meaning you need more information. You can't just walk up to someone and say, since they were sad, and leave. Number 6, the cat read. That is an independent clause. You have a subject and a predicate. So hopefully this helped you, Grammar Pirates. I want you to say it with me one more time. You're going to need to get used to this. We're going to do it all year. A clause, not the Santa, has a subject and a predicate. An independent clause has a subject and a predicate and can stand on its own. A dependent clause has a subject and a predicate and has a dependent word, so it needs another clause to stick with it to make any sense. One more time. A clause, not the Santa, has a subject and a predicate. All right, Grammar Pirates, I will see you later.